In today's workshop, we're going to talk about consent, ethical photography, planning and shot lists, and then some photography techniques, and I have a Q&A at the end. You can ask questions throughout. Feel free to unmic yourself and ask a question because I probably won't be able to access the chat as we go. But we'll have another dedicated time for questions at the end of the workshop. So let's get started. I just wanted to introduce myself. So I run a social media agency with my husband. I started in the industry as like a wedding photographer, while assisting my dad at the age of 13. So that still meant film photography. So I've been in events for a very long time. I've captured over 450 events, and I'm really passionate about storytelling and through my lens. I was mainly an event photographer until COVID, and COVID is what got me to transition into more social media and content creating. So for photos help you to really like capture key moments, promote event management, document archive history, and support community storytelling. And how you approach event photography really has to do with what you want to get out of it. So I think, um, let's go back. So what you want to get out of it. So what we're going to talk about today is just not just showing up at an event and taking photos, but really thinking about how you want the photos to be used, what do you want them for, because that's really going to dictate what you do at the event. Um, so the first thing we really need to talk about is consent. So when you're taking photos at an event, you can just start taking photos if everyone's aware, but it's really good to have a sign or something that says that you're going to have event photography at the location. And most people will be okay with taking event photography, but some people, for privacy, especially if it's kids in foster care or kids that are going through divorce, they probably don't want photos of them online because that could be used against them. So it's really important to have signage at your events that just say that you're going to be having photos, whether it's photos or videos. And then it's really nice if you have an option for them to opt out. And for them to opt out, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can get them to just tell you they want to opt out, but that could be a little bit harder because if they tell you and there's multiple people, it might be harder for you to remember who doesn't want to be photographed unless there's like a couple people. If there's one or two, then it's easy to not photograph them. But if there's more, I've noticed that events often will have a sticker or a ribbon, so something that could be available at the door as they walk in for them to be able to put on themselves. That way it alleviates that pressure of having to say something up front, and it's just something that they can grab, put on them, and it tells you that you should not photograph them. Um, and for that, like if you do happen to get them, because oftentimes they might want to be in a group shot, or if you do get them in an event, in a shot, covering their face with emoji is something that is used often nowadays, or putting something on top, like a sticker on top of their face, just to cover to hide their identity a little bit more, is a way you can go about ensuring that if you can still have them in a group shot, but they're not, but their identity remains private. And also, if you once you have, you know who's going to not want to be within the photos. It's I often have them like on one side of the room, so I can shoot from behind them. Meaning, if I take photos behind them, their faces are never going to be in the shot, and they're still part of the group, but I can so you just see their backs, and you're able to capture the event as well. So having a designated area for them to sit in is very helpful. So you don't need to make this complex or anything, just a small sign on at the entrance saying photography, video are taking place at this event. If you prefer not to be included in photos, please let us know, or please put on a sticker, please put on a ribbon. And it just really sets the tone. It just shows that you respect them. You're there, you're taking the photos, but you're also um, there to make sure that it's a safe space for them, that if they're not comfortable with this, that's okay. They can still attend the event because you don't want to really isolate anybody. So that's first. And so next up, but usually with public events, it's a little harder to get consent and if it's an outdoor event like this. So I took these pictures from the march on Friday. And I wanted to share just some of these in here just to show you how like a different perspective on photography. And when you're in a public space, it you are able to take photos. And the thing is that the how the law works for you is as long as something is public and everybody else can see it, you're allowed to photograph it. But at the same time, if you know somebody that might not want to be in it, then just do your best to hide them. And so when you're planning your shoots, before you go to the event, you really have to start thinking about what what am I going to use these photos for? Because the more you plan ahead of time, the more likely you are to get good photos as you're photographing, and the more likely you are to get the photos that you need. And so when you're planning for photos, you want to ask, where are these going to be used? Are you going to be using these on social media? Is this just like a post? Are you just going to post it onto the app? Do you just want an album showing the event for the app? Who is the audience? Is this going to be the community members? Is this going to be do you need something for funders, partners, the public? How, who are you going to be sharing this? And what story do you want to tell? So you can see like the story above. You can see that like people are speaking. You can see the hand holding as like people are going into the march. You can see how many people are in the march. You can see like the signs. You can see the group of people that I went with. And like the last shot, the one with the group of people, that's the staff for NRT. And I told them as soon as we arrived, as soon as that march happens, you're going on that hill and we're getting this photo because I knew that I wanted that shot with the people behind them. So the more you plan and start to think about it, the better it is. And then also thinking about pairing what is happening with a reaction. So you can see here in one photo, the woman is speaking, she's sharing her story. And in the photo next to her with the two women, you see they're just absorbing it, thanking her, clapping for her. So with events, it's really important to not just pay attention to the main thing that is happening, but really capturing the story of what you want. So, what is happening and how are people reacting to it? The more you can make like a connection, like an emotional connection between the story and what is like the story and what's how people are feeling, what is the mood of it, the more your photos will resonate with the people that are there. And just so you know, like you don't need any fancy equipment. All these photos have been shot with my iPhone. So it's not like you need um, great big cameras, big lighting. You just need to know what you're anticipating for. Having that shot list and knowing what you're going to go for is really going to help you guide how you create the photos. So I think, okay, yeah, so we're going to think about, I think this is going to be good for all you guys to do this as like kind of an activity. So think about like an event. Like take a moment to think about what event do you have coming up and get a pen and paper so we can start to like actually like focus on like thinking about like how can we prepare for this event. So think of, yeah, I'm gonna give you a couple moments. So think of an event you have coming up that you would like to take photos of. And think of who are you going, where are these photos going to be used? who is the audience, who do you want to take these photos for, and then come up with a couple shots that you want. So action shots, speakers, presentations, award being given. Is there like a key thing for the event that you want captured? Reaction shots. Do you want people hugging, engaging, clapping? How do you want them to respond to it? Detail shots. These are usually like close-ups of like maybe, yeah, signage, decoration, hand holding. Is there like a sign that define like that it says what the event is? Having a picture of like the sign and the event behind it is just a great way to introduce the event and show it. And think of like the difference between wide shots. So like wide shots at the full room. Do you want to see any group shots of people together? Do you want to see the atmosphere of how busy it is? And then close-up shots, which is more of like fit. You can share facial expressions, interactions, special moments that are happening. Okay, would anyone like to share their upcoming event?
So mostly our events are community meetings.
Okay.
So it's like classroom style, all the chairs in a row and they're all facing forward. So there's not very many, and I tried all the angles, right? I've tried to get creative with like putting the heads near the bottom and then trying to clear the speaker in front or going to the side and getting all different angles to try getting just nicer pictures. Is there any other ways I should be doing it? I even went behind the speaker and got him in the middle and then got like the members in the background looking towards the front. So,
So how big is the room?
well, it can vary from like 80 people to 20 people. So,
Okay.
but they're all the same. They're all same classroom style. It's just different. Like we have meetings everywhere, so it can go from 20 people to 80 people.
Okay. So you could do the same thing. You could have a shot list with like the main shot. So like an action shot, like you know you want one of each of the presenters or people talking. And for
Hmm.
that, I wouldn't take like the exact same photo of like them facing the front. I think like
Yeah.
varying angles is nice. Like
Hmm.
typically when someone's speaking, I try to like walk the room. So I'd start on one end and I'd like walk around and try to get at least like the three different angles of that person and then wait
Oh,
for like edit it after and see which one looked better and just post one of those. And then
okay.
zooming in and like getting like the close-up shots of like the reaction of people talking, people hugging when they come in, I think is like a great shot to get. People engaging with the speaker. So like oftentimes after speakers are done talking, when like the presentation is over, that's like the best time to get photos because everyone's like engaging, talking to each other. And
Okay.
then like yeah, close-up sh like varying it between like the close-up shots, the wide shots, or have yourself like a shot list for each one that you go to. So I'm gonna get one action shot of each of the speakers. I'm gonna get one reaction shots of the audience paying attention, showing the wide room, um, maybe showing the sign or something about what the event is, and then some like close-up special moments. You could
Okay,
also,
that's a great idea. I like that one where you're taking pictures of them as soon as they're done their presentation, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah,
that's like those are the best ones.
that's a great idea. Okay.
And then like oftentimes people stop and then also think like where are you going to be using these photos?
Just with our brochures or our app or our website. It's just for in-house.
Yeah. So if you're shooting for like a brochure or website, you would shoot wider than you would for just social media. Because
Mm,
if you're shooting for like a brochure or a website, you have to keep in mind where you're going to add writing or if you're going to add
yep.
other graphics to the photos. So I would like have like a wide shot of each of the speakers and like a tighter shot of each of the speakers for social, so you could have like variety to use them. And I would write your shots ahead of time so that you can like focus on like checking them off. So you know like when you're done, you got the good stuff and you can move on to the next one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else want to share?
Hi, Bernadette Dennis. I'm from Adams Lake Indian Band. Um, so we have an event coming up and it's called Anti-Bullying Awareness Walk, and it's hosted by the Child and Family Prevention Service Team. So I would get photos of the host speaker, well, as people gather first to the meet at the meeting point, and then I would get a picture of the host speaker and those that are attending once everybody has gathered. I would get a picture of people walking, like starting the walk, during the walk, and then finishing the walk. So I'd get pictures of like the participants in their hoodies that they'll be gifted that day, and like a group photo, and then a photo of the logo and just the hoodie.
Yeah, that's great. So like think about like yeah, the wide shots of like people walking with their hoodies, close-up shot of maybe just one hoodie or like two people holding hands with their hoodies behind them. So like you're starting to anticipate those moments that you're gonna see before it. And with walks, it's a little bit more complicated because personally for me, I have to do a lot of running because you have to be ahead of them. And like a go like the best photos I've ever gotten of walks is if you anticipate it before they come. So you think of like where is like a nice shot with like the nice background, and then go up there and you wait for them to come into the shot because then you can get like a nice shot with like where you are with like the landscape and then have the walkers within it. And those kind of photos are great for like the website, for promoting the walk next year or
Mm,
any other time.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I didn't want to jump in without interrupting anyone. We're kicking off a land use planning process with the community soon, and we're going to have an initial kind of open house event. So, it'd be great to, you know, get photos of the members as they come in, but especially as they're being engaged, like with the different booths around the community hall. Um, it'd be cool to get close up or maybe detailed shots of like maps that are out, or especially if say members are going up with like land use, like say like zoning use, and they go up and just like seeing them apply like say sticky notes on maps, like that'd be cool to kind of get those zoomed in detailed shots. Um, would love to get, of course, like the wide shot just full of, just to see how full the room is with all the members and all ages being engaged with different partners coming in. And it'd be cool to get close-up shots of members specifically engaging leadership or staff, just seeing that connection happening. And I could see this being used in newsletters, reports, like just ongoing reports of just because usually land use planning can take a year or so, like at least a year. So there's quite a few engagement sessions. So it'd be cool to have a really nice, beautiful, updated report going out every month or so. And I would say the audience would be the members and key stakeholders once the land use plan is developed, like say it's a local city or developers. Um, but yeah, those are just my thoughts for the upcoming event.
So if you have like booth setup, it's really important to get each of the booths. So
Okay.
like as the event starts, before people get in there, I would go around once the booths are set up, get every single booth and the people at their booth because people love that. They can use that for their booths as they're improving them later, and then you have like the solid base, and then you worry about like the interaction and the details as the stuff things come and as it develops. But having that like
Awesome.
foundation will make the people that are participating in the booths just be excited to like have something to document it because they often need to share that with their coworkers or
For sure. And then they have their reports too that they,
exactly.
might need photos for. So that's a wonderful advice. Thank you.
And then that way you don't have to worry, like, because it's hard to get like in good interaction photos at every booth
Yeah.
because like it all depends on timing. And this is another key thing. Taking a photo doesn't mean going up to a booth and taking a photo. Taking a photo means going up to a booth, setting up your shot, and standing there and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting until the moment happens. You're gonna start to
Yeah.
like see when it's gonna happen ahead of time, but like just simply walking up there and just taking a photo isn't gonna show any emotion or anything. But waiting for that moment to happen where like maybe somebody pats somebody on the back of the head, a handshake, they're pointing at the board, they're putting the sticky notes up. Waiting, anticipating for that to happen and waiting for it with your frame, um, camera is the best thing. So like shooting more than you need almost all the time because like what you think is going to look good at the moment and then later on what you look through the photos is going to be a little bit different. So I really feel like having more but like really anticipating and waiting for the moment to unfold before you take the picture.
That's again really good advice because that's something I've never, I guess, knew about taking photos was almost like having that patience. It's almost like going hunting, right? Like you gotta
It is
wait for
completely,
something
I
to come
tell
along.
everybody I
Yeah.
go hunting. And you're hunting for the shot, you're hunting for the moment. And like as you start to do it, like you start to anticipate it. And like the really weird part is I start to like tell people, like, but in my mind, I'm like, move or like hug them, hug them, hug them. And then it happens. And it's so weird when you like anticipate in your head and you like prompt them to do something. You're not interacting with them, but it happens. And then you get those nice shots. And it's like, it's so like yeah, those are the ones that matter. Because, like, if you're looking at a bunch of photos and it's just people there, like, with no emotion, like, not reacting to anything, nobody's gonna care. Like, they're
Yeah.
gonna hate their photos of themselves. But if you, like, wait and you anticipate and you, like, wait for it to, like, unfold in front of you, then you can have, like, something good.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I like David's comment as well, manifesting the shot. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And
this is
shoot through the
wonderful.
action. So like once you see like the action happening, shoot through it. Like don't just take one, let the whole action happen and take a couple frames. So you shoot
Okay.
through the action because you don't know like because like how the exact moment your camera is going to take the picture, you don't know what it's going to look like until you like get the whole array of photos.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, last call. Anybody want to go before we move on? Let's move on. Let me get on here. Okay, so photography techniques. I never get good behind the scene photos, so I'm really happy with this one. First thing is gear. And gear I get asked about the most, and I'm gonna talk about this is for phone stuff. Are you guys using phones or DSLRs? Mainly phones? I would assume you'd mainly be using phones. Phones? Okay. So, I'm gonna start with the essentials. And the number one essential is that thing in the middle is the pop socket. I love this thing. This is like a must because if you're folding your phone like this the whole time, it's gonna hurt your hand. Putting your phone into something that's comfortable on your hand is gonna make a huge difference. The only thing, the problem is with a lot of these, they're like stickers, and you just put the sticker on it. I highly suggest you get a case that's MagSafe and you get the MagSafe one because what this is going to allow is it's going to allow you to easily like take this off and then put on different things onto your phone. Next thing, um, one of these is like this one I have with like the cards in it, and this is like 50 bucks, but it's like the must, I would say, for anybody to have something to comfortably hold your hand, especially if you're holding your phone for a long time. It's going to be a big difference. Next thing is power. You're going to need extra power to charge your phone as you're going. So I discovered this one. It's currently on sale. It's called iWalk. It goes into the new iPhone and it like charges it really quickly And I really love it because if I'm taking photos at an event, it's gonna die pretty quickly. And this allows me to have enough battery to last a while. And as soon as it dies, like this fills it up right away. So having like something like this, I think is necessary. And then it goes on to like the stands. So for a tripod will really allow you to um just keep your camera there, take photos. If you want to start dabbling in video, this will allow that to happen. And this will also allow you to trigger. A lot of these come with a remote. So you can trigger your camera if you want to do group shots, you can be in them. And then for them, there's usually a button in the bottom. You just push it. And these are really affordable. This one's $40. Um, you just push it and then they extend pretty high, and then you stuff your phone in the top. What you're looking for when you get one of these is to make sure that it's going to tilt and rotate. I thought these were all the same, and then I bought some and I realized half of them rotate and tilt really badly. So finding one that's going to rotate and tilt works the best. I can send you guys links to all these that I have after. And then, so it closes, and then it's really handy because you can fit this in your pocket. I went for a walk to get photos. You'll see my photos later. I just put these in my pant pocket and they're fine. I was fine to walk with it. And then if you want to get really fancy, there is, this is like the next level. One of these is $200 and it's like a grip that you get for your phone. So what it does is you can pop your pop socket off, you can put it in here instead. And what it does is it basically allows you to hold your phone like you would your old camera. So it has like the grip that goes around your hand. It has a trigger. Sorry, I'm having trouble with the camera. Has a trigger up here that you can push to take the photo, and then you can walk around easy. This allows you to move nice and easy if you do video, and it honestly is the best thing if you're shooting a whole day. You can get cheaper versions of these that go through MagSafe. The reason I got this one is because it also has a power charger in it, so you can push the button and it will charge your camera as well. And I think like this is one of these is a great investments because you can do it both vertically and horizontally if you want to do depending on what you want to do. And it really like it takes that strain off your hand as much and it allows you to have more control over how you're going to take the pictures. So this is like once you get going, but like the pop socket is going to be a game changer for when you get started because it's just going to allow you to hold on to your phone in a more simple way and it gets rid of like so you just gets rid of that tension on your hand. If you can't if you find like your phone is like hurting, like your hand's hurting after shooting for too long, the best stretches to do is just to hold your fingers back. And so you just hold your fingers back and stretch this way, and then you do the same thing. You put your hand on your knuckle and then you stretch that way. And that will like reduce that stress from your hand from holding your camera for too long at an event. I've done a lot of events, as you can tell. Okay. And then so when we get into composition, there are a few things to consider when you're like taking photos. The first one is rule of thirds. And what rule of thirds means is rather than putting your things right in the middle, you divide it into three sections, your camera into three sections. So there's a top section, a bottom section, and then there's two sides. You'll see in the next slide, I'll explain this a little better, and how you can see this on your camera. But basically you want whatever is the interest to be on that third rather than in the middle. And it will just create a more dynamic look within your photos. Another one is perspective. So you can see here I shot this from down going up. depending on which level you photograph somebody. So if you photograph somebody from below, they're gonna look more powerful because they're bigger. They look, it just allows you to have a different perspective on them. Think of like looking up to somebody versus looking down on somebody. In the 50s, if you look in magazines, they would photograph all women looking down to make them look smaller and more vulnerable, and they'd always photograph men with an upward angle to make them look more powerful. And it's a good trick that you can use if you have like a leader and you want to photograph them and just to change the perspective. But when you're doing group shots, so photos like this, I would suggest not going up or down, photographing people at eye level. So at their height, like if you're taking a picture of people at their booth, if you want the whole booth, then go back and take like a wider shot with the whole booth. You can take that down. But if you want like the people at the booth, I strongly suggest photographing them from eye level. And the same thing is true with kids. This is like the biggest problem with kid photography, and the easiest way to make kids look better in photos is just to go into their eye level. Photograph them from their height. They're gonna look more powerful, the photos are gonna look more dynamic rather than photographing down on them. And the last thing here is use empty space. This isn't the best example of this, but I wanted to use some from this event. But you can see here, here's the subject. So you can see I have like a little frame here. So I often use people's heads as like frames. So I want somebody in front of it to just give that little storytelling look. So you can see here, this person's in the foreground, so is this person. This is like the main subject, and this is the background. This is how you tell stories within photos. You have a front, a middle, and a back. With empty spaces, what I mean is like all this space here, it doesn't have anything. It's clean. It's not clean. It's if it was a sky, it'd be cleaner. You know what I mean, though. This is a great place to add text because your eyes looking at here, the foreground, it's pushing them into the people themselves. And then here, if you want to write something about the event. So really considering where are you going to put your empty space? And another key thing for putting empty space is you always want them in front of their face. So you can see here, the women are more in the back part of it, and there's empty space in the front here. If I have the empty space end here, and there would be a bunch of empty space behind them, that's what they use for villains. You can see that in like movies where somebody's bad, they're often going to have like the frame end at him here because it creates tension and it makes you kind of uncomfortable. So you always want to give your people that are you're photographing breathing room. So have the frame at their back that they can look into and you have empty space in front of them. So a trick for doing this on your phone is to use these grids. So these are the settings I have on my phone that I think are very helpful. These grids is what I was talking about for the rule of thirds. So positioning something within a subject within these points where they meet is gonna make the shot look dynamic. So if like their faces is ending here, you can see they're gonna have all that breathing room in front of them, and it's gonna look more powerful for them. And having like if you're photographing and there's a horizon, so there's like a sky, you want that like say it's like an ocean horizon. You want that on the top or the lower third, depending on what you want to emphasize more. So say I want to emphasize the ocean, I would put the sky here. But say I want to emphasize the sky, I would put this like the ocean down here. So you can add these grid lines. You can also add this level. Always, always, always take your pictures level. The more you tilt and the more you make it look crooked, the more awkward it's gonna look. A great place to start is just to make them level, and your phone already has a level built into it. So basically it has these two white lines in here, and when it's the yellow line, that means it's level, it's straight. So when you're taking group shots or anything, make sure it's straight. And this is one more thing I'm going to tell you, and This is specific for iPhones. If you're taking a photo with an iPhone, what it does is it exposes the whole scene. iPhones tend to overexpose a little bit. You can use your exposure, so you can make your exposure a little bit darker and just 0.3. And what that's going to do is it's going to add a little bit of contrast to your images, so you have to do less editing later. I strongly suggest you just set your phones to this and don't worry about it. So how do we do this? So in your settings, you can see, if you go into your settings, you can see your camera settings. Um, There you're going to see composition. You're going to see your grid. Turn that on. You're going to see your level. Turn that on. I like to mirror my front camera because I like to see myself in the mirror because that's what I'm used to for when I take photos of myself. But that doesn't matter. I just have that one on too. But the grid and the level, those need to be set on. To be able to adjust that exposure, you will go to preserve settings. And then in your preserve settings, it's going to allow you to exposure adjustment. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you to keep that -3 onto all your photos. And you do have to set it as you switch between camera modes. So like you'd have to set it once for your video, once for your photos, once for portrait mode. And then, but once you set it, it's going to stay like that. Um, and then the last thing I want to talk about for your formats, this is your formats. So your formats are down here. It's under camera sound, so above preserved settings. And your formats, you have two types of formats. You have high efficiency and most compatible. High efficiency um, lets you take more photos, but it makes the photos a little bit smaller. But what it does is it saves it into an Apple format, so you can only ever edit it on Apple and it only responds well with Apple. Um, Most compatible makes it a little bit of a bigger image, but it's gonna work across platforms. So like I like to edit my stuff in Lightroom, which is an Adobe product, and having the most compatible allows the photo colors to be more true as I go between editing and shooting. So I suggest that you do this unless you don't want to edit your photos and you have like low storage on your phone, then I would do high efficiency. Does anyone have questions on these before I move on? Okay, good. Okay, so now we're going to talk about camera modes. So I took these pictures for you in the exact same spot. So the difference between your portrait mode and your photo mode. So with the portrait mode, it's going to make your backgrounds a little bit blurrier. We can see the photo is just like your regular photo camera and versus the portrait, which is a other setting on your camera. When you're taking pictures at events and there's like lots of people, photo is great. However, once you taking like individual pictures, or if you know exactly what you want to stand out from the back, switching to portrait mode is going to make the photo just pop a little bit more. And you can also see the difference. I did not change anything in these photos. The portrait mode is a little bit like more contrasty. It looks like a richer photo. So it just increases the contrast on it automatically within the camera when you take it. This is the exact same lighting. And then when you're using your camera, what lens you use matters too. So in this, I did not move. I only didn't smile for my close-up. I don't know what I was thinking. Um, but what it's just showing you is just the different focus. So when you look into your camera, you can see on the bottom, it depends on your camera how much, if you have like a older iPhone, it might only go to 3, the 14 plus, or what do I have? Yeah, the 15 plus goes to the 5. Um, but so you can see the wide one is 0.5, so that would be great for like a wider shot of everything. You start to zoom in with 1. With 2, you zoom in a little bit more as well. And then with 5, you'll see like the background comes really close. So what you can see is like the background the more you zoom in, the closer the background will be to the people. So if you're outside and you're shooting, and you're trying to get those moments, shooting at like a 5 is going to allow you to like get those moments and capture them and do kind of the similar thing that you can achieve with the portrait mode, but by zooming into your camera. But there's a thing to this. As you zoom in or zoom out, you're also changing your lens and you're warping the image. So here I took this is almost the same framing. I was with so I tried to like move physically closer and further back and just to show you what happens to the lens as you zoom in. So as I zoom in and I take the photo, this my face is most proportional. As you go to the two, it's like the two's still okay. But as you go to the one, you can see it's starting to like deform my face a little bit. And if you go to 0.5 and you take a close-up shot of me, it's really morphing my face. Because when you're shooting at that 0.5 lens, what it's doing is it's stretching the image around you. So to compensate for this, if you wanted, like, if you can only get wide shots at an event because the room is really small, make sure your person is, if you can see back here, like, your person is in the middle. You can see I look smallest when I'm in the middle here because of the how it's warping into it. Like, and people are gonna, if they're on the side, because it's warping that side here, you can see like the trees aren't as straight. What it's gonna do is it's gonna make people look less, it's gonna be way less flattering on people and they're not gonna appreciate it. So when you're shooting in the wide, make sure everyone's further back and in the middle, and then as you zoom in, you can see that the portions get a little better. And I suggest you all start to play around with both of these shots, like both of these angles, just to understand it a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to talk on lighting. I just realized we have 2 minutes. Sorry, I went too much into the earlier stuff. So, big thing to see here, lighting, this is really bad. Lighting from above, this is what you're going to get in most rooms, is going to be really bad. So, pay attention when you're taking that group shot of people, pay attention. Is that light, fluorescent light right above their heads? If it is, just move them back. Tell them to take a step back so it's not fully above their heads because it's going to give them this raccoon eyes and it's going to make everything look bad on them. Same with anything from below. If you light anything, the major light source is coming from below, that's what they use in horror movies. They use green from below to make it look like a scary movie. So don't do that to people. And the best lighting is going to be your front lighting from above. So like if that above light is like directly above them, just get them to take a step back and that light's going to fall onto them and it's going to be a lot better. So you can see front light is best for taking pictures of like just to show everything's going to be more even in it. Side light can be used to show more effects, so like a light side and a dark side. And then backlight can be really nice because it creates this like glow around your hair, but it can also get into the lens a little bit, and it's like a good way to move forward. We'll talk more about this during the photo workshop. And then yeah, I'm trying to wrap on time. So it's 12 o'clock. That's the end. So we talked about consent, planning your shoots, and then photographing techniques. And then if anyone has any questions, I am here.